Today, I am going to just be speaking about some federal agency updates to public access to research data. This is not necessarily new. The memo came out in 2022, but we do have some updates and a deadline of December 31st, 2025. I also wanted to let everybody know that the slide is full of information. I have a lot of links embedded because I created it with the intention of having it as a tool for you. This way you don't have to remember everything on your own. And I'm going to show you where I'll show you a spreadsheet that's full of publication and federal agency updates or requirements. And I'll just, as we walk through the presentation, I'll show you all of these things. The 2022 OSTP, that's the Office of Science and Technology Policy memo on data management and sharing, emphasizes that taxpayer-funded research should be accessible to everyone, not locked behind paywalls, and that public data sharing increases transparency, strengthens reproducibility, and accelerates scientific discovery. The big picture of the memo is that it directs all federal agencies to update public access policies with a deadline of December 31st, 2025. And you're going to see later several of these agencies have already updated their policies. This is a shift in emphasis as it goes beyond publications to requiring stronger focus on data management, sharing, and repository use. And for grantees, what we can expect is accountability. We're going to need to show how, when, and where data will be shared. We're going to see expectations in repository standards that align with federal guidance, ensuring data are preserved and discoverable long-term. And we're also going to see that if for some reason data cannot be shared, a clear justification will need to be provided. So as I said, a number of agencies already have their policies in effect. We know that the NASA, SMD, and NIH policies were in development prior to 2022 memo and are in alignment with expectations. The remaining were developed on here. We have Department of Education, CDC, Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, EPA, and the FDA were developed after 2022 to address the specific OSTP memo requirements. And the NIH and FDA policies implementation date actually came up sooner than was expected. I believe it was July and August of this year instead of December 31st. The remaining agencies, we see that some of them have updated and published policies that are not yet in effect. You'll see here DOE, NEH, MILS. These are all going to be for new awards only, effective October 1st, 2025. And then we also know that ACF, the Census Bureau, CMS, Consumer Product Safety Commission, and Administration for Community Living have already updated and published their policies, but those will not be in effect until December 31st of 2025. We're waiting on the rest of these over here on the right to publish their policies, and we know that they will be published and publicly available by December 31st, 2025. Within this link, I have access to the OSTP public access memo guidance. If you want to go dig in and read, it's captivating. There's a lot of information there for you. Also have access to a SPARC spreadsheet. And SPARC is an advocacy group that's been following this very closely. And they have a spreadsheet of public publisher requirements and funding agency requirements for making data publicly available. So we're asking the question, what is scientific data? Well, scientific data include the recorded factual material commonly accepted in the scientific community as being of sufficient quality to validate and replicate the research findings. This is regardless of whether the data are used to support scholarly publications. So you might be asking yourself, well, what data need to be shared? Not all data need to be shared and preserved, but data that is sufficient to validate and replicate the research findings will need to be shared. Again, this is regardless of whether it's used to support scholarly publications. I'm going to repeat myself one more time. It's recorded factual material, data of sufficient quality to validate findings. So the scope we know here potentially what could be included: diagrams, instrumental readouts, protocols, charts, graphs, numeric information, etc. We know what is not included are going to be the preliminary analysis, drafted papers, peer reviews, physical objects, communication with colleagues. We also know that there are different nuances within the federal agencies. For example, the scope is applicable to grants, contracts, and cooperative agreements for most of our federal agencies. For the Department of Education, it's applicable to grants. Another exception would be laboratory notebooks. Many federal agencies say laboratory notebooks are considered scientific data, some do not. This information could be found on their website, or it could be found in their solicitation or RFP. PIs should determine and propose within their data management and sharing plan. The PIs are the ones who will know what is considered to be scientific data that can validate and replicate the research findings. So a common question I've heard over the past several months are, is there a justifiable reason for limiting the sharing of research data? And down here we have this link to NIH FAQs, and I think they have a great answer. NIH expects that researchers will take steps to maximize scientific data sharing, but they may acknowledge in plans that certain factors, such as ethical, legal, or technical, may necessitate limiting sharing to some extent. So foreseeable limitations should be described in your data management and sharing plan. And here are some justifiable reasons. Perhaps there are consent restrictions. Informed consent, either original or existing, may limit the scope of sharing. Perhaps there's technical feasibility difficulties. Data sets cannot practically be digitized or shared with reasonable effort. But they also share here some reasons that would generally not be considered justifiable for limiting data sharing. We can't say the data are considered to be too small or insignificant, or that it will not be widely used by others, or that there's a perceived, perhaps, lack of a suitable repository for the data. So the OSTP memo expectation about data underlying peer-reviewed publications is that it needs to be shared as much as can be shared at the time of article publication date. We've got here the separation of different verbiage, different federal agencies. So you can see a few of these federal agencies require data underlying peer-reviewed publications to be accessible by article publication date. The FDA says as soon as practicable after the publication date. And the Department of Education says available within 30 days of the publication date. The key requirement across many agencies is that this data underlying peer-reviewed publications must be made accessible by the publication or soon thereafter. That's what you'll see. For other data not associated with publication, the requirements vary. Some agencies require it to be made accessible as soon as possible, some by the end of the award or within a timely manner. The Department of Education says it requires data to be made accessible within 30 days of the publication or by the completion of the final study or 5 years after the award is closed, whichever comes first. We'll also notice some nuances in the data management and sharing plan element requirements. We do know that all agencies agree that for new awards or grants, data management and sharing plans are going to be required, and you will start to see this as a requirement when you submit your proposal. So here we have the AHRQ, CDC, EPA, NIH. They want you to submit your data management and sharing plan with the application. But the CDC, EPA, and NIH are also expecting perhaps an annual review of your data management and sharing plan. I've also detailed some nuances here in the elements. So you'll see the majority of our federal agencies are requiring a description of data types. Some may also require data access, preservation, and archiving. This is all to be submitted in your data management and sharing plan with your proposal. Some are going to see here that they want a detailed description of your oversight and team responsibilities, standards, reuse considerations, related tools. And I'm going to go into not all agencies provide detailed guidance on these elements. at the time of proposal. So you may use, earlier this month, we had the university libraries go through a tutorial of the DMP tool. The DMP tool has worked with federal agencies to incorporate templates into their system that include the elements their agencies would like to see in their data management and sharing plans. So some additional compliance factors that we're all asking about are, what about the cost? The cost of data management planning, the cost of data management sharing, the cost of data management preservation. Data management costs, we see all agencies are saying that they can be included in the proposal budget. How will a data management and sharing plan compliance be monitored? Some federal agencies are saying that if you don't comply with your data management and sharing plan, if you don't submit your data management and sharing plan in a proposal, you may not receive an award. If you do not comply with your data management and sharing plan throughout the life of the project, you may have some sort of repercussion for not following that. Additionally, the AHRQ, EPA, FDA, and NIH are going to start making your data management and sharing plan a term of the award. So whatever you're submitting, they're going to expect that you follow that plan throughout the life of the project. Another question, repositories. Not all agencies require a specific repository, but they do require, we're seeing verbiage that you use established repositories. And they may indicate in the solicitation or on their website suggested repositories. We also have questions about intellectual property. And we're seeing that the agencies are incorporating verbiage into their policies that say proprietary or IP sensitive data can be protected. You only need to share data supporting published findings, and exemptions are allowed with justification. DOE says there's no requirement to share proprietary data. NASA says while safeguarding intellectual property and other grants. So they are understanding that data sharing should be balanced with IP protection. Okay, actions that we're seeing across agencies. Multiple federal agencies are taking coordinated actions to enhance data sharing and management. We're seeing that they are building or expanding on their own data repositories. So if you are not now seeing that they are requiring you to use a certain repository, you may in the near future see a federal agency change and start to require the use of a specific repository. We're seeing several agencies are reiterating their obligation on eliminating embargo periods. They're mandating comprehensive data management and sharing plans with specific timelines and repository requirements. So this is kind of nuanced over and across agencies. You'll see different verbiage in their policies. And multiple agencies are working on standardized metadata formats, persistent identifiers, and interoperability standards to improve data discovery and reuse. Okay, the good news is you're not alone. You do not have to remember all of this information on your own. The university has comprehensive support for researchers across all stages of the data life cycle. We have our university libraries, technology services, sponsored research services, and the responsible stewardship of research data, SAP, which I am not going to go into during this presentation, but I do have it linked here. I've gone into it over a couple different presentations this year, and I have it linked here if you'd like to go to it and read it in your own. And if you have any questions about the SAP, you're more than free to reach out to me and we can talk about it. Okay, so the Texas A&M University Libraries, we already talked about, they have expert guidance in creating comprehensive data management plans for grant applications. They can provide consultation on data organization, documentation, and preservation strategies. Their website has links to different repositories. They can help you decide which might be the best repository for you. And they can also give you guidance on funder requirement and institutional policies for data standards. Additionally, 2 weeks ago, we had them go through the DMP tool. Just want to point that out again. It's a great tool. The DMP tool is coordinating with the federal agencies so that their templates incorporate the elements those federal agencies are requiring. If you need assistance with processing through that DMP tool, the research librarians can assist you with that. And they can provide guidance in general on managing data throughout the data lifecycle stages. Next here, we have TAMU Technology Services, which we had Chris Guy last week on here that walked everybody through the website. Technology Services can provide the technical foundation for research data management. They offer secure infrastructure, compliance tools, and expert guidance for researchers across all disciplines. Of course, first, we say please reach out directly to your departmental IT if you have questions, but also their website, it is fantastic. It's got a wealth of knowledge, including the data classification calculator, which can take you through a series of questions to determine what level of security your data requires. Lastly here, sponsored research services. So as you're submitting your proposal, you'll work with your proposal administrator. The proposal administrator can clarify any sponsor university requirements on your data management and sharing plans. They can provide direction to guidance materials and templates. They can connect you with institutional support offices, such as the libraries, IT, IRB, export control. They can assist in identifying key plan components if those components, of course, are provided either on the website or in the solicitation, and they can ensure your proposal is submitted in compliance with funder requirements. Additionally, SRS has recently incorporated a new research data tab. I've got federal data management sharing plan requirements on here. We have a link to the DMP tool, a link to the Spark spreadsheet, which is we're updating as federal agencies are updating their data management and sharing requirements between now and the 31st of December. We have library research, a connection to the library research data management services on the research data tab. We also have a link there to technology services and other TAMU guidelines. So just to take it all back, remembering that the data that we're talking about is data that is sufficient quality to validate and replicate the research findings, regardless of whether the data are used to support the scholarly publications. As the PI, as the researcher, you're the best one to know which data is sufficient quality to validate and replicate the research findings. Federal agencies are increasingly mandating public access to research data and emphasizing transparency and reproducibility. Effective data management and sharing plans are crucial for compliance and successful grant applications. I will tell you that between now and the 31st of December, you're going to start seeing federal agencies say, we really need you to be forward thinking when you're creating your data management and sharing plans that you're submitting through with your proposal, keeping in mind as best you can how or where you will be storing the data, how you will be preserving the data. And then lastly, Texas A&M offers robust resources through the university libraries, technology services, sponsored research services, and the director of research data to support researchers in navigating these requirements. Also, there are many other services across campus that can assist you with a variety of topics that can be related to research data, but these are the ones we're touching on today. And that is all that I have